all the haters, cause you proved to me that rising to the top was my destiny. And you can see whatever from behind me, but I'm still fly, I know. I'm still fly, let's go. It could all be worse, I could be a hater like you. It could all be worse. Clothes to make the man, but that poison's gonna kill you. From the inside out, it's time.
Only possible. The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show.
Good morning and welcome. We are doing things just a little bit differently this week and this morning, but I think you'll find that all of them are exciting changes. As always, we're going to continue conversations with Rebecca and James with Like It or Not. And we have started this week on the clock with Georgia Fort, where she's bringing insight, news, political analysis, and commentary with guests from all over the country, where we focus in with a deep dive on the issues that are most pertinent to our conversation, to our community. That said, I want us to go straight to On the Clock with Georgia Fort.
Good morning, Ben. Thank you so much for having me.
Pleasure is always, Georgia. I know you have been tracking all the things that are happening that are relevant to our community. And I said this on yesterday's episode, but I really mean this. On certain issues, you're the very first timeline that I go to check. What are we looking at today?
Black economics. I think regardless of where you are in the country, we need to keep front and center our finances and the wealth gap. In addition to that, we know that Evanston, Illinois has been leading the country with their reparations bill. They're the first to pass a city program of reparations, but not everyone is happy with it. And the reason being is because their reparations program has some contingencies. They're saying that, yes, we'll give Black residents who have faced housing discrimination $25,000, but that money has to go to home improvement costs, down payments, mortgages, so it's not just like, here's your reparations. It's here's some money and this is what you have to do with it. Ben, do you think that reparations should be contingent, or should folks be able to get reparations payment and spend it how they like?
Oh, you went for the gusto right away. Like, oh, I like to build. I like to build and make my case. But I think by the end of today's episode, we're going to find the case that reparations should be distributed to the people, and what they do with it is going to be their business. I think that's I think you have set the thesis for today's episode. So let's have that conversation.
We're going to bring in PJ Hill. He is the vice president of the NAACP in Minneapolis, also a financial expert. And Anthony Galloway, he is a national podcast host as well as faith leader. PJ, I know in terms of the financing piece, you'll have a lot to add to this conversation. And Anthony, more of the historical context of just, how and why we got to this point in America. But PJ, I'll start with you. Why should we have reparations, and to what extent should we be able to have the freedom to spend it how we like?
Thank you, Georgia, for having me on. I think, the number one reason we need reparations because the way wealth is passed in this nation is through real estate. And when you look at it, back in 1865, when General William Sherman asked, what does a Black man need to be successful in this country? Garrison Ford, who was the leader of the Black people at that time, a pastor, said, we need land. And when you look at it, that is what frees us as people. If you want to talk about creating generational wealth, land is the number one way you do that. And because America systemically has restricted us from growing that way, that's why we need reparations. And reparations need to come in the form of of real estate and being the freedom to be able to do that, to be able to grow, to be able to pass that from generation to generation.
Mm.
Absolutely. Take a listen. We have a clip from the president of the Greenwood Chamber of Commerce. He sits over Black Wall Street currently. His name is Freeman Culver. And of course, he's been impacted by what happened in Tulsa, which reignited a lot of questions and concerns around reparations. Take a listen to what he had to say about reparations.
I mean, social justice is great. We need that. But you will never have social justice until you have economic justice. You know, just this call for reparations is great. But what we need is funding. We need it continually.
And so when you think about funding continually without contingency, right? Especially coming from his standpoint and being over the Chamber of Commerce, Black Wall Street, which used to be 40 blocks of Black wealth, now reduced to one block, right? It is, I think, reasonable to consider why these residents in Evanston, Illinois, are a little frustrated that the city, yes, while they're leading the nation and being the first to have a reparations program, maybe they didn't quite get it right. Maybe they kind of rushed to market too fast, trying to lead the way, trying to be the pilot program without really thinking it through. Or what we oftentimes see with city government is they hold these engagement sessions, these listening sessions that no one seems to come to get feedback on how to do things. And while I think they thought they may have engaged the community clearly, the response that we're getting from Evanston residents about this, I mean, they're going as far as to say that this is fake reparations. It's not even real reparations. Wow. You have Kristen Mullen, who is an author. She says this is a housing voucher program, not reparations, and calling that does more harm than good. And it's a little frustrating because I feel like people on the other side of this are saying, well, hey, you're getting 25 grand, be happy about it. Why are you complaining? You know, what more do you want? But then even looking at what community organizer Sebastian Knowles had to say about it, Sebastian says the beneficiaries of this program would be those who initially did the harm of redlining here in Evanston. You know, and so when you put it in that context, right, here's $25,000. You can only put it towards home improvements. You can only put it as a down payment or closing costs, right? And putting it in that context of saying now, instead of giving Black people $25,000 to start their own business or to invest in stock or to invest in their child's college fund, you're saying here's $25,000, but you have to give it to white developers, basically.
Yeah.
And so I think that conclusion by Sebastian of here is $25,000 to stimulate the beneficiaries of redlining.
You know, if you don't mind, let me jump in there. Because I see the whole picture now. I think I see the whole picture. And Anthony, I would love to get you to jump in on that. So basically they're saying we're going to do something good for you, but only if it recirculates back out to the very people who harmed you. Right.
Exactly.
They're only going to give you so much because they know as soon as it comes in, they want to specify it's got to go out the door to the very people who are connected to the root of the problem. Anthony, what are you seeing in your world?
Well, I think it's very fitting that we start with the field order given by General Sherman. This is where we get our misnomer about 40 acres and a mule. We you know, that fake reparations again. And I think this is actually connected. I mean, I deal with historical patterns. You know, there were some AME church ministers in that room, and yes, they centered on land. But we have to connect some dots. So first, this is the second time that Black leaders were gathered, so-called Black leaders, who's to speak for everybody by a national leader. President Lincoln tried the same thing. And when we said, no, we're not about to repatriate back to Africa, he stopped and went to talk to other folks. And that's where you have the Team of Rivals book. But then General Sherman comes and gives a toothless order, the field order for 40 acres and a mule, again, you know, not connecting to a national connection, not connecting to communities across, but saying, oh, I think this is a good idea, and let me jump on this here. But it had no teeth, it had no backbone, and of course, as political leaders change, so too. So I think what you bring forward here, this attempt in Evanston again is something local that doesn't necessarily address the national. So that's the first. There's some historical patterns here. The other piece is you bring in particularly redlining. Like I'm here in Minnesota. Minnesota is one of many places across the nation that had racially restrictive covenants for years, disbarring Black folks from even moving into almost every first tier suburb here in Minnesota had a racially restrictive covenant that would not allow people of color in particular to move. I mean, this is captured in James Lowen's book, Sundown Towns, where he talks about one of those, and how even to this day, even though surrounded contiguously by cities that have diversified 20 and 30% than these initial sundown towns, they remain 99% white. So there are mechanisms in place that are connected to all of these patterns. So as you talk about the developers and this drop in the bucket given to, I think it's like 16 residents to start, and then all of a sudden, who I have to pay ends up being the same folks that go back. Is it reparations for us, or is it reparations continuing from the reparations that were given to Southern planters who, quote unquote, lost?
Right.
So there's a lot of historical patterns here.
Yeah. Like, so there's two ways I want to go with this, Georgia, if it's okay with you. I want to ask you a question, and PJ, I want you to get in there. First, Georgia, you brought this up with regard to the same historical pattern with regard to gentrification as we see it happening in Tulsa. And whereas the memory of Black Wall Street, now we're having some victories in the sense that history is finally being told, but the long lasting effect of what happened in Tulsa is still reverberating to this day, because you have now those properties becoming owned by the ancestors or descendants rather of the same folks, if not by blood descension, then definitely through the system of white supremacy. They're descendants of the system of white supremacy. So now Black Wall Street is destroyed twice from the Black perspective. Talk about that for me, Georgia.
Absolutely. When you look at what happened in 1920, you had 40 blocks of Black wealth. You had Stratford Hotel. You had Dreamland Theater. These companies that were headquartered in Black Wall Street had the potential to become chains, just like you have Marriott or Western, these high-end hotels. That Stratford's Hotel could have become that. But because of what happened in 1920, that was taken away from him. That opportunity to pass down generational wealth was taken from him. And there was so many layers of discrimination that blocked Blacks in Tulsa from building wealth. Not only did they go and burn things down, right? A lot of these businesses had insurance, and so they should have been able to file insurance claims. But the systems worked together in a way that prevented them from getting any insurance claims because they listed this incident initially as a riot. And you can't file an insurance claim on a riot. Then if you go and you walk down the sidewalks, the streets of Black Wall Street, you'll see these little bricks that are laid to commemorate the businesses that used to be. And where there is now a baseball stadium, there was more than a dozen Black-owned businesses. And with these businesses, when you look at the little bricks, some of them say that they actually were rebuilt and were reopened. And so what I think is missing, especially from the national conversation around the 100th year commemoration of Black Wall Street, is what happened to the businesses that were rebuilt? Why is no one talking about what happened in the 50s and 60s when transportation discrimination happened? They started building highways, and it happened here in Minnesota. It's happened all across the country, predominantly where interstates were decided to be built would be in the middle of Black wealthy neighborhoods. Yeah. And the government would strong arm eminent domain and devalue properties, which then again, so you had the first iteration of what happened in the 20s and the 30s, and then the second iteration in the 50s and 60s. And so we're constantly seeing just about every decade or two where Black communities are stripped from their wealth and their ability to be able to pass down an inheritance to the next generation.
You know what? Let me push it a little bit further, Georgia. Absolutely. PJ, let me bring you in, because from what I hear Georgia saying, there is a disconnect in terms of which narrative we're going to actually address in terms of the oppression of Black people in this country. Now, we're at a stage in this country where we'll talk about the racism. So now we'll call it a race massacre. But without answering the question about those businesses that were rebuilt and still died anyway, then here we are going to be having only one solution to a problem that has two fronts, which is our system in general, the economic system. You can't make money if you don't have the resources. Being poor, this country didn't build itself by the bootstrap. The government wrote checks to the people. Talk about it, PJ.
No, 100% right. I mean, we're dealing with that 100 years later here in Minnesota, off the death of Brother George Floyd. We had a bunch of looting take place, and everybody says, "Oh, it's not." We knew it's not Black people going out and looting these buildings, setting them on fire. But then you see a long line of developers, right, white developers, right in line to buy all of this land that was looted. So I always say we don't want Brother George Floyd's murder to gentrify our city, and that's what you see happening. So you got people like myself, people like Georgia, trying to get into development so we can buy and reclaim that land that could be taken from us, or that was never ours in the first place. So that's exactly what's happening. And at the core of a lot of these issues is the economic inequalities that lie within the systems. We have no chance as minorities to grow wealth because we were always like pushed on the outside. I mean, imagine if you imagine America as one big game of Monopoly, and I'm the one Black person, you three are white people. For the first 300 years, you go around, I never collect money when I go past go. Then for the next 50 years, I can get property, but if you three don't like the way I look at somebody, the way I do things, you get to take my property from me. And then the next 50 years, I get to continue to try to build property. Of course, I'm gonna be behind the ball. It's been 350 years where I didn't have no chance to really build no wealth. And that's what we're living in that right now. We're playing Monopoly and we're not able to collect money past go, or we're not able to buy property. And that's killing us.
Anthony, and then Georgia, by all means, like whichever way you want to go. But I want to ask Anthony one more question about this, because I see those patterns. Those patterns are emerging. They're on repeat. And part of it is that one of it is a pattern of survival. Black folks, we know how to survive this system, whether it be the white supremacist side of the system or the capitalist side of the system. We know how to survive. The other pattern I see, though, no matter how many different ways we survive, they try to find a way to colonize it, to gentrify it, to snatch it right back from us on the front end, the back end. They kill us. We survive as a people, and then we get a victory, and then they gentrify George Floyd. Like, what's up with these patterns?
And, one of the things that I find very interesting is that it turns around and figures out a way to blame us for the pattern itself. When we talk about what happened under Reconstruction, we talk about Black autonomous towns and cities. Look at Mound Bayou, Mississippi. They worked out deals in the Reconstruction era that basically said, look, we're going to vote for all the folks you tell us to vote for. You leave us alone, we'll be good. That stayed in place and was fine until Mound Bayou began to grow as an autonomous city. And then you have the interruptions of white terror. You have the same thing happening. Of course, we got Tulsa, but you've got Greenwood. You've got Tulsa and Greenwood, but you've got Ocoee. You've got massacres across the state. Interruption whenever Black wealth is there. I think it's important to understand that in redlining, it wasn't just the value of I don't want to live by those people that were at play. Redlining was used to weaponize that. So when there were cities who actually started to attain home value, and home value began to become equal to that of their white peers, you have an acceleration of the redlining and blighting that happened. It was blighting that made way for the freeways that Georgia referenced earlier. And so, that the interruption of Black Black wealth, especially in Black autonomous spaces that are generating their own. I think it's very important to pull out of Tulsa as an exemplar that this was a city where Black autonomous money changed hands 6 to 7 times, or actually probably more than that before it left the community. Here in St. Paul, the Rondo community, which was removed to put Highway 94 through, had the same setup, had the same trajectory as a Black Wall Street, and it was interrupted, was chosen for blight. And I think it leads to even now the reports that we have now that are resurfacing again about the devaluation of Black homes that are for the same value, for the same parameters, are devalued compared to their white peers.
I see a pattern of interruption too. Right. I see a pattern of survival. We're speaking with Anthony Galloway, Bearing Witness podcast, and Mr. PJ Hill and Georgia. I know you probably have some more content or video that goes with this, but the pattern is a pattern of interruption. Black folks know how to survive. On the flip side, we survive their dual system, white supremacy and capitalism. We keep coming up, and then they gentrify it. They gentrify our food. They gentrify our music. They gentrify our deaths. Black Lives Matter to a certain extent is gentrification of Black death, right? All those ways that they keep interrupting us, never interrupting us to actually help us, Georgia.
Yeah, I mean, and I think what Anthony was going in terms of the housing devaluation, what we're starting to see now is even more evidence of that. And so sometimes I feel like in the Black community, we're gaslit. We talk about the discrimination that we're facing, and people look at us like it's a conspiracy theory or that we're playing the victim. But there's been more evidence of housing discrimination in terms of appraisals. There's actually a woman out of Indiana, I think we do have a clip on this, who went and got her home appraised 3 different times. The first 2 times, 125,000, 110,000. Then she said, you know what? I'm going to get my friend John here, who's of course a white guy, to act like my brother and call an appraisal and have him come out. And guess what? The appraisal came back at $259,000. That's more than double. And so you think about the layers. How can we build wealth? How can we build an inheritance when we're investing? We're paying our mortgage on time. We're being strategic and responsible about the properties that we're purchasing, and we're investing in them and making them better. But we can't catch a break. Appraisals come in and say, no, your asset's actually not worth that just because you're Black. And then when you take down all of the Black photographs in the home and you have a white guy come in and act like it's his house, now all of a sudden magically it's worth more. And the only thing that is different is the owner. And can you imagine how devastating that feels to find out? I want you guys to take a listen to this woman. She's out of Indiana, and she's the one who had the home appraised 3 different times.
Okay, I think we may not have that clip, David. So we're going to try to get that clip and come back to it. But Georgia, I do know that story, and that story,
and it's
a loop.
It's so devastating because it's like you can do all the right things, yet and still you're penalized.
Okay, there's the pattern. All right, let's piece this together because I think it's here, brother. You study these patterns, Anthony, because you have a pattern of survival, right? And then you have a pattern of interruption. But I'm seeing that on most occasions, white folks, when you interrupt Black people, we play the system the way you said to. We play the game the way you said play the game. We develop Black. Go ahead, Anthony.
It just reminds me of a story. You know, I'm an AME AME preacher, right? So,
all right,
so one of the interesting things that I found is the founder of the AME Church, Richard Allen, who bought his freedom twice, right? Founded the church. The Methodist Church tried to take the church from him, had to raise the money to build the church again. And then during the yellow fever pandemic that hit Philadelphia, formed a nursing brigade that took care of the city and was never paid for their services. And then when they went to their abolitionist colleagues and friends to say, hey, help us with this, they said, well, you know what? Maybe you can work a little extra. This is reminding me of so many patterns that are coming up of when Black folks try to engage in the system as it is, that system turns around and figures out another way of forming a second-class citizenship.
Changing the rules in the middle of the game.
Yes.
PJ, I want you to pick up on that, but we obviously we have that clip. Georgia, tell me, which clip is this again?
So this is the homeowner in Indiana who got her home appraised 3 different times.
Let's take a listen in. All right, we have an audio routing problem, and that's okay. We'll, don't worry. I'm going to insert that afterwards because I know that story well, and I couldn't believe it. It was too obvious. And I do like, though, what happened out of that. Bring us back to the 4th shot. I do like what happened out of that. You had a ally. See, allyship is when you jump in and you interrupt to benefit versus interrupt to disrupt. White supremacy been disrupting us, Anthony. You feel we could probably y'all don't tune in the AME church, do you? Y'all who preach to, because you could preach this one, man.
Yes, it'll preach long.
but they come to white supremacy has been interrupting us, and every now and then we get a John Brown. Every now and then we get a white person who jumps in on our behalf. Mr. PJ Hill, I want you to talk about how in this conversation about funding and reparations, perhaps reparations isn't waiting on the government to get us a check, but perhaps it's Silicon Valley. Y'all need to start writing us real checks, not these diversity and inclusion checks.
Thanks. And I do got a quick story about this systematic racism that I can give you about appraisals. So I do affordable housing. So when you do affordable housing, so I have 4 plexes next to people who do market rate like rents. And because I do affordable housing, the way the bank appraises my properties or all properties is they look at the income that's coming in. But of course, if you're working, doing affordable housing in the city, the income is not the same if you're trying to give people opportunity to live in nice homes. So when I go to try to get appraisals on my property, the guy right next door who has the same kind of fourplex as me, and mine is upgraded a little bit more, his house is worth 1.2 million, and mine 870,000, just because I don't have market rate rents. And so in that I can't, take out the equity and continue to grow my business, continue to buy more properties because of that. And that's true systematic racism that people who never get to that level understand. Like, my properties came in appraised because I'm not doing market rate rents. And if I do market rate rents, then I gentrify our community. I don't give people a chance to stay in the community.
How do we fix that?
Go ahead. I'm sorry, man.
How do we solve that particular dilemma? Because that is the dilemma that we're facing as Black people. If we play the game exactly like they play it, then we end up doing to our people what they did to our people. So how do we fix that, PJ?
Man, that's what I'm trying to figure out. I mean, it's tough because the way the rules are written is written to do that. So, you can become a minority developer, but you'll never really make money doing affordable housing because of how they set the models up. And then they make it so in certain parts of the city, in Minneapolis at least, you can't even do market rate rents.
Okay.
So you can't even grow. And they make it like that. That's how they make the rules.
We're out of time here, but I got a proposition, and I want to know what y'all think about this proposition. Let me know if maybe I'm crazy. But instead of how about if we want some real allies, maybe just one type of reparations, maybe there's multiple types of reparations, but instead of telling us what to do with the $25,000 that you gave us, and you told us that we got to give it to these white contractors, which is in itself is going to lead to gentrification. But I digress. That's what they're talking about. This ain't real reparations. This is just a feeder program for white supremacy in the long run, right? All right. So maybe perhaps what they should do is, instead of interrupting us like white supremacy has done, the pattern in history, instead of interrupting us for bad, how about y'all interrupt us for good? And instead of gentrifying our neighborhoods and erasing our community, buy some of those properties and let and give it to Black folks. Donate it to a Black person. Buy a whole block and donate it to some Black families. Do it a way where you have the ability to come in and interrupt us in a negative fashion, but you turn it around for some good. Does that make any sense? Is that just like one? There's so many other ways.
Of course.
But that might do something.
Do it. Don't do it for us. Do it with us, because
there you go.
Have mutual benefits.
There you go.
When corporations and stuff like that, I always say that I deal with a lot of CEOs. do it with us because you'll benefit as well.
I love it. Go ahead, Anthony. Real quick.
There's a real powerful statement of this. The Illinois rail line stood up for its black railroad firemen who were being assassinated across the South because not only were they silent workers, but it was all across the Illinois line, and they stood up, ran newspaper ads to find the killers for this in ways that even the unions that were backing these folks did. Because during this time in the post-depression, black jobs became white jobs. And so, there is historical record of this happening. And so I don't think it's unfeasible at all.
You know what? You reduced it for us, PJ. You got it down to the basic pattern. Don't do it for us. Do it with us. Be complicit. Be an ally.
Be a partner.
There you go. Yeah. Georgia, that's all. I appreciate the conversation. And I appreciate you bringing these voices, Anthony and PJ. Thank you so much. You guys had so much insight and so much. You helped us have this conversation. Couldn't have had it without you. Thank you guys so much.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you.
All right, Ben. See you tomorrow.
All right. See you tomorrow. More on the clock. We're going to transition here for a minute. We'll be joined by another guest coming up here soon. So David, run some of that music while we reset for the next segment.
Really use a change of scenery. Yeah. Everybody smoking all the greenery. Yeah. Close the match 'cause they were handed down to me. But I'm still fly, I know. I'm still fly, let's go. It could all be worse, I could be a hater like you. It could all be worse. Pills to make the man, but that poison's gonna kill you. From the inside out. So right now, say it with your chest now, say it with your chest now. I'm young, I'm free, can't nobody take me here and now. It's my time to run it out. It's my time to ride it. I'm young, I'm free, can't nobody take me here and now. It's my time to run it out. It's my time to ride it out. It's your time. Oh, cheers to all the haters, 'cause you proved to me that rising to the top was my destiny. And you can see whatever from behind me, but I'm still fly, I know. I'm still fly, let's go. It could all be worse, I could be a hater like you. It could all be worse. Clothes to make the man, but that poison's gonna kill you. From the inside out, it's time to say it with your chest now, say it with your chest now.
Like It or Not with Benjamin Dixon starts now.
Good morning, and welcome to another episode of Like It or Not, another edition, Like It or Not, where we're free to tell the truth and not care who doesn't like it. I don't have, my boy is not with me today. DJ Exclusive is not here with us. We work that brother. That brother works hard, and so we're doing the best we can on the music tip. David is no James, but we'll make it. We'll survive. That said, had an excellent conversation in the first segment with Georgia Fort on the clock. Definitely, if you did not get the chance to see that part of the stream, you definitely want to rewind it and catch the replay. Good morning to everyone in all the different chat rooms across YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, all of the platforms. Click the like, share, and subscribe button. I'm going to be joined by a friend of the show, and he's going to chop it up with me and tell. We got to get an update. Brother J. Mal Green, activist from Chicago, former mayoral candidate, entrepreneur, just all around young brother out there doing the thing. How you doing, J. Mal?
What's up, Benjamin? How you doing? Good morning.
Good morning, man. And listen, thank you for being able to jump on at such short notice. I've been following your the good thing about technology, man, is though, even though I'm not in Chicago, I'm
Right.
able to see what's going on. I've been following your timeline. Give us an update, because here's the thing, J-Mo. That's what I love and hate about this work. Everyone
Right.
always says, "What about Chicago?" As if people aren't in Chicago trying to do the work. Tell me what's going on
Man.
up there, man.
So, we are trying to build a 80,000 square foot youth center on the south side of Chicago. Many people, if you don't know, we have, this year is like the highest rate of violence in decades, right? Last year was the highest rate of violence in 24 years. So almost all my life. Now this year is even worse than last year. So it is out of control. Yesterday, just had 9 people shot at one place. We have mass shootings every week. For over the weekend, this past weekend, 60 people shot and a dozen killed. This is our everyday weekend, and our weeks are just bloody. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to tackle the root causes of what's going on in the city of Chicago by building a facility that's not only a safe haven, not only a place where we can tackle the root causes of what's going on, like having a wellness center on site and tackling mental health, having services for homeless youth, making sure that we evaluate each student, make each all-star, what we call them, to make sure that they have the services needed based on where they're coming from, or the household they're coming out of and the school they're coming out of, but then giving them programming to inspire them and give them hope that they could be more. So we're talking about a coding program so they can learn how to code and build games and build apps. You're talking about a vertical farm on the roof so they can learn how to grow their own vegetables. An aviation program where they can have flight simulators and they can learn how to be pilots, carpentry, and on and on. This is a very revolutionary center that's not been done like this. And we're fighting with the mayor right now because me and the mayor are not good friends and haven't been.
With the black mayor? You're having to fight with the black mayor.
The black mayor. And she is, very funny. Lori Lightfoot she is very out of touch with our neighborhoods and have been for many years and since she's been mayor. And she doesn't have anybody in her administration from Chicago and definitely not from our community. So everybody that she appoints in her administration, they're from out of town, including her. She's not from Chicago. She's from Ohio. So you would imagine why violence is where it is and why we're having so many problems. And so we're fighting with her just to get the city land that it was an abandoned school that I went to in 6th grade. It was one of the schools they shut down many years ago. They shut down 50 black schools at one time, right? And just threw them all, made them go travel miles to another school, causing a whole bunch of other chaos. But this is a school that's been sitting here in the same place, messed up, asbestos all in the school. I mean, they took everything, stripped it. It is just a shell and have been for eight years plus. And so we're trying to repurpose the land so that we can build a center for the community and for young people, as well as increase property values, and it'll just really help the community. And but we're fighting with her, and because she doesn't like me and she doesn't want me on the project. This is a community project.
Because you're a troublemaker, man. You're a rabble rouser. You go down there. If you see an issue, you don't waste time. Like you don't pull any punches, and people don't like. So you do know why she doesn't like you, right?
Of course I know why she doesn't like me.
All right.
And you have every right to like me, but don't like me. But the problem is that when this is a community project, we have the top architectural firm in the state, top developer in the state, hundreds of folks who have played a part in this, all the community organizations. This isn't about me. This is about our young people, and this is about our community. You got to put that bull crap to the side, and that's what I would do if I was the mayor, but everything is to her is personal. Remember when the aldermen don't vote for her, she told them, don't ask me for SHIT until the next, for the rest of my term, if y'all don't vote for my budget, the budget that gave billions of dollars to police.
Oh, because it's all tied together, Rebecca Azor. You see, we've been diagnosing this thing. There's this thing for this fake bipartisanship, this fake reaching across the aisle. First of all, good morning. How you doing, sis? Oh, girl, you just talking real good and the microphone all on mute. You still on mute. We figured that out. She's here. You can see her. For those
I'm here. My bad. That was me.
go.
That was me. I had to put it on mute because it was kind of weird. But no, good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Here it is.
Bubba Jakes, who's not in the house this morning. But it was very abrupt. So you guys are in your conversation, and I didn't want to just be like, "Hey, what's up?" Right,
Just
like
bust
in the middle. Didn't want to do all of that. But you were saying though, Ben, bipartisanship.
Yeah,
it's like that whole idea. First of all, it doesn't matter if you know the folks that are your leaders are black or not, and then you fight with them. Even if you're moving in a way where you're trying to lead, and you end up having to fight your own. Sometimes it be the folks in the crew, the folks that look like us, that we do have to sometimes disagree with, and it may turn out to be a fight or whatever, right? But sometimes you got to do what you got to do. Because everybody ain't for you, everybody ain't on the same side. We say that all the time on the show. Now, the bipartisanship thing, that is something that I just find to be crazy. And with the latest example of Kamala Harris, I don't even know if we got there yet.
No, we haven't. But I
don't even know if we got there yet.
But I got the clip for you. I got the clip. Just
do not come here.
Yeah, play this clip. This is Kamala Harris. Let's take a listen in as she discusses immigration.
I want to be clear to folks in this region who are thinking about making that dangerous trek to the United States-Mexico border. Do not come.
What?
Do not come.
Exactly.
The United States will continue to enforce our laws and secure our border. There are legal methods by which migration can and should occur. But we, as one of our priorities, will discourage illegal migration. And I believe if you come to our border, you will be turned back. So let's discourage our friends, our neighbors, our family members from embarking on what is otherwise an extremely dangerous journey.
So we really expanded the conversation here, but this does absolutely tie in, Rebecca. And then Rebecca, tell us what you thought about this clip. Then I want to bring in John Nichols, and we're going to expand. And we're going to find together the lies that are being told to us all over the place.
Mm-hmm. The lies. So here it is for me. All I heard was build that wall. That's all I heard from her. And like I couldn't hear anything else. That's all I heard. And it's funny because she was giving Trump energy. That was giving very much Trump. Nobody can tell me that it was different, because that's exactly what Trump said before his presidency, during his presidency. It's exactly that. And she's speaking literally to in the news conference with the Guatemalan president. So it's like, don't come here. Tell your people to stay where they at, even though we come to these countries and we just run through it, mess it all up. We don't need y'all to come and seek refuge over here. We don't need that. And that's exactly what she was saying to them very confidently. And this is where my issue lies, because that's that bipartisanship that everybody was looking for, right? There it is. There goes the one that President Biden was running off of. When he was running, he was talking about bipartisanship, hold hands, be friends. And Kamala Harris was giving that. When she said that America isn't racist, there's a bipartisanship talking point. When she said just now for y'all not to come here, for anybody else, basically don't come here. There will be consequences. That to me was a bipartisanship talking point. And what that's going to do is bring the Republicans, bring the alt-right, and they're already on Twitter just going in.
They loved it.
They loving it.
Yeah, they loved it. But
they
what you
loved
gonna
it.
get back in return? Let's do this. I want you to set the proposition for me, J Mall. What do you see the commonalities between Lori Lightfoot and Kamala Harris in terms of
Oh my
not
God.
them personally as being black women, but in the role that they facilitate for the system? Like, are they there for
Yes.
us or are they there for the system? And then we're gonna bring in John Nichols.
100% there for the system. Lori and Kamala are one of the same. And Lori Lightfoot, you know, here in Chicago, who acts like she's progressive, is far, 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 far from progressive. She is police number one. And when I say every chance she gets, she throws we gave police $2.5 billion last year, you know, and when they were protesting, she raised bridges downtown so people couldn't come downtown and they had to stay and loot in their own neighborhoods. Protesters getting beat up, teeth knocked out. When I say Lori Lightfoot is no progressive, she is no progressive. So, you know, the blackface and the fact that she is the first LGBTQ mayor fooled everybody. But this time, people got to understand that symbolism means nothing. And real quick, my boy Ryan Knight tweeted this about Kamala on this Do Not Come Here. He said, Statue of Liberty. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. Kamala Harris, do not come. Do not come.
Hello.
If you come, you will be turned away.
Now, did Ryan Knight DM you and ask you to retweet that? Okay, I digress. Never mind. Go ahead. Coming to the screen now is John Nichols of The Nation. He is author of The Fight for the Soul of the Democratic Party. John, I want to bring you in to help me connect the dots, because we have two stories. Actually, we have three things on the table, and I think that there's a connecting thread. You were speaking about some of your recent articles. You were dealing with some of the intricacies in terms of this type of funding, reparations, and but then you also were looking at this proposition of what Kamala Harris is telling the role that she's facilitating. Maybe not so much the specifics of what she's saying, but the role she's facilitating is the same role that that Lori Lightfoot is facilitating. Do you see any commonalities overlapping those?
Well, I think that your other folks here today have laid out a lot of it, and we've seen this challenge, and I love that you've focused in on this issue of so-called bipartisanship, right? Because I've argued for a long time that bipartisan is the word that corporate interests use. It translates for them as sucker, right? If you buy into a concept that there can be some sort of bipartisan agreement, that there can be some sort of common ground, you're going to end up in a situation where very powerful interests get what they want, because that isn't a common ground for the great mass of people. It's not a common ground for what is good for all Americans. And by the way, that can cross lines of class, that can cross lines of race, that can cross lines of ethnicity. Instead of looking for that, right, you're saying, oh, you know what? We can't give you all that you want, right? We can't give you the safety, the security, the welcome that makes sense. And so we're going to start to barter things off. We're going to say, no, we've got to be tougher with you in this way. We've got to be tougher with you in that way. We've got to raise the bridge to keep people from coming into downtown. We've got to put the wall up to keep people from coming into this country. And I think that if we start to understand that, then we are to start to understand the real crisis in America. And the crisis in America is that we lack the clarity of a two-party system. Frankly, as I've said to you, Ben, before, I'm a supporter of a multi-party system. I'd like to see a lot of parties there with principles coming in, and then, you know, they all win some seats. They have to build coalitions. That's what you see in countries around the world. But we don't have that. We've got a two-party system. Okay, that's what we're stuck with, for better or worse. Structurally, that is reinforced not merely by political types. That is reinforced by corporate power. Again and again and again, they like this two-party system because it's less for them to have to buy off. And so we end up in this circumstance where Democrats, as an example, win the presidency, the vice presidency, the Senate, and the House. and they win it saying, nope, we're going to really reverse course for Donald Trump. We're going to do something really different here. And then suddenly, oh no, we're going to spend 6 months trying to figure out if we can get a Republican to help us pass an infrastructure bill. Right? I'm sorry. This is, and I know that it's the worst analogy in the world, but this is Lucy with the football, right?
Yeah.
Lucy with the football. The Democrats are Charlie Brown, right? I mean, they're like, one more time. I know I can kick it this time. And bipartisan, that written on that football is the word bipartisan, right? It's like, oh yeah, we can make it. And you go back to 1940s, right? After Roosevelt was there, Truman comes in, and they say, oh yeah, we can work together and stuff like this. Truman tries. He actually dialed down a lot of Roosevelt's economic programs. 1946, he loses governing power. You say, well, that's one time that happened then. 1970s, Carter comes in, Democratic Congress. He's got, really a mandate. Nixon literally just gets kicked out as president. And Carter says, oh, I can work with the Republicans. 78, he loses his governing power. He doesn't lose his majorities, but they have so many Southerners come in, he starts to dial down. Clinton comes in, big majorities, right? He's ready to govern. So I got to work with the Republicans. We're going to do deficit reduction and all this stuff like that. We're not going to keep our promises. We're going to have enough. Exactly. 94, Obama. Right? You lose your governing majority. 2008, Barack Obama comes in. Great majorities, overwhelming majorities. Good message, solid message. And then say, oh no, we got to find 3 Republicans to work with us on our stimulus bill. They barter off all the good stuff in the stimulus bill, right? Which is the key economic thing of the moment. And then 2010, they lose their governing majority.
And that's
now,
all.
Yeah. So, okay, I'm done with my rap here. This is all I got to say is you look at all these examples and now amazingly,
they do the
shocking.
Exactly.
Same thing.
How do you do this again?
That's the part. Okay, so we look at the folly of bipartisanship. I think I might call today's episode the folly of bipartisanship because Jamal, down in Chicago, you have Lori Lightfoot there, who essentially is delivering the same type of thing. Like when it comes to the Black community, we relentless in brown communities, Rebecca, in terms of the immigration, we get the negative side of this negotiation. We always get the $1 billion to the Black community. When they would negotiate on behalf of Black folks, when Mayor Lightfoot negotiated on behalf of Black folks, the budget went to the police. Why do we always get the bad end of this bipartisanships?
Because we Black, I don't really know how to answer that, Benjamin Dixon, but I do feel that they will always give us that part of the stick, the shorter end of the stick, because we are Black. Nothing is in place that was set to benefit Black folks or people of color. I mean, they're gonna put people in place to literally be the Candace Owens and the Daniel Camerons, the faces, and they're gonna make sure they do that. Kamala Harris is the perfect person. She's mixed, she's on the Black side, she's on the Asian side. She could just, all of that. So it's great for her, right?
And she got experience in telling people to cease and desist.
Hello.
And they do too. They both.
My show about to get canceled as hell.
Listen. She put people's daddies and sisters in jail.
I didn't mean to open up
Lori
that
Lightfoot too.
You said Lori Lightfoot as well.
She was a prosecutor.
Wait a minute.
Here's the thing, though.
Prosecutor in Illinois.
The police state, they're representatives of the police. They are there to serve. The side of bipartisanship that they're there to serve is the police state.
And when they are associated with that type of career, it's like it's white supremacy is tied all in there too. So even if you're not white, you can still move in that systemic way. And that's what we see when we see Kamala Harris. And when we hear her, it doesn't matter because she graduated from an HBCU. I love that, we, the Black community, will say, oh, a Black woman is in the vice presidency. It was beautiful. We celebrated on that day. We was like, Black women. We did on that day. And then it's like, but then we're like, we have to hold her accountable. And in this moment, I'm sorry. I don't care if y'all reach with short arms to attack AOC and, for her saying those migrant jails for immigrants pointing that out, that it's wrong. You know what I mean? So it's for me, it's like they're gonna try to tie it. It's already happening. The right is saying that, look at Kamala joining us on this side. AOC could never. They're already doing that now. So it's causing a stir. And this is what the bipartisanship that the Republicans wanted. This is what it looks like. It's not really unified. It's more division, if anything. So
how is that mirrored in Chicago, Jamal?
You know what? It is the same exact way. Lori Lightfoot and Kamala are, when I say they're very similar, they come from very similar backgrounds. Lori Lightfoot was a prosecutor, a Fed. She's a prosecutor for the federal government. Okay. So she was a top prosecutor. All those folks who are in prison right now do not like Lori Lightfoot, because most of them was put in there by her. And so when you look at the track record, all right, they are very similar. And right here in Chicago, we always get, like you just said, Ben, the bad end of the stick. Okay. You got folks out here without jobs, without homes, that are homeless, young people, 20,000 homeless young people, no mental health facilities, no community centers. And the best thing that she did is the best thing she did, which was terrible, a terrible thing she did. But the best thing she did was come to the south side of Chicago 2 weeks ago, where me and her had some words. And she comes to a community riddled with violence, riddled with vacant lots and vacant buildings. And she says, hey, I'm going to announce a new program today to allow people to put in a proposal to get a vacant lot and turn them into a community garden. Lady, stop playing with us. Come on, man. Stop playing. The police get $2.5 billion a year. And she came and said, y'all can turn y'all lots into some vacant gardens, some community gardens. Man,
J-Ball,
I was done with her, man.
J-Ball, look, I gotta, John, I want to bring you in to dovetail this because one, J-Ball, you wild, but the truth is like we get the bad end of the stick. And I think the way that we can judge whether or not that bipartisanship is in favor for us is the results that it gets. And before, sometimes we don't have time to wait on the results because the results can be so damaging. You got to look at who's praising you. I want to play this clip, right-wing radio praising. I'm going to go all the way up to Kirsten Sinema because she's doing the same thing, right? Kamala Harris got praise from right-wingers yesterday. Kirsten Sinema and Joe Manchin, they get praise from the Republican Party. And so it's like every time they try to do something bipartisan, it ends up benefiting the other side. And we can tell by who they praise. Play that clip.
Republican Party has no cohesive message. And I've said time and time again, make the message meaningful. The Republican Party has none. Look at Cheney. Look at what she did. And you know, we had Flake here in Arizona. I think one of the people that's more of a Republican, I shouldn't say this because I'm going to get hammered for this, is our very own Kirsten Sinema. She's the one that's blocking the removal of the filibuster in the Senate, and she's a Democrat.
There they go. John, throughout from a historical perspective, you could tell what's going to happen by who's praising it.
Of course. Look, and this gets back to this bipartisanship concept, right? You know, it's like so many of these political figures want that praise. They want they think it's a big deal. Even conservatives are saying I'm good, and they do the biggest lie of all, that if the people of the other party praise me, then I must be an honest player. I must be the straight shooter. And our media feeds right into this, right? The media constantly says, oh, yeah, you're offending both sides. You must be right. No, because at the end of the day, you're not offending both sides. You're actually, what you're doing is you're taking care of yourself. And frankly, you're very often taking care of your campaign donors, right? You're taking care of the people who fund your campaigns. But let me take this to what I think is sort of the maybe one of the core challenges here. And that is, we're talking about the filibuster as an example, right? The filibuster isn't in the Constitution. It's not some, historic rule that has always existed. It's not a part of good governance or anything like that. The filibuster exists, as Dr. King explained in the 1960s, to prevent progress for particularly African Americans, but also for all sorts of other peoples. It has been used again and again and again as a tool to prevent civil rights, voting rights, economic justice. You run down the list. And so here we have Democrats stepping up saying, oh, I'm in favor of tradition. I'm in favor of doing things the way that we've always done it. No, you aren't. No, you aren't. You are in favor of employing a tool that power has used, particularly, frankly, in recent decades, to prevent us from having, any kind of delivery on the promises of a political party that mobilizes, seemingly mobilizes a mass movement and wins an election on the promise of, or the pledge of, transformational change. And here we're seeing it happen in real time. This is a point at which we ought to pull the brakes and say, just as we talked about with Lucy and the football here, this is time to pull the brakes and say, no, we're just not going to do this movie again. The first movie was a bad one. Sequel 2 was worse. Sequel 3 was worse. Sequel 4 was worse. And boy, I'm telling you, if you've ever seen, like Sequel 9 and it was good, you're looking at a different movie series than I've been involved in.
Fast and the Furious.
I don't know. That's actually a better example of it than most. But no, here's what we're talking about, though. And so I think that it's an interesting thing. I've been looking back at this and writing about some of these filibuster fights as an example. And I don't want to go down that. I think what you're on here is a deeper conversation. So I don't want to get lost in the filibuster per se. But I'll just use it as an example. In 1964, when they were doing the Civil Rights Act, and then into 65 with the Voting Rights Act, they expected a big filibuster. They really did. They had it in 57 on the first civil rights bill to come post-Civil War. They waited a better part of 100 years to do something. By the way, I'll note that it was under a Republican president, Dwight Eisenhower, that they actually started to move on that. But that got filibustered. Then they're expecting a filibuster. Strom Thurmond's still there, Stennis, Eastland, all these Southerners are still there. They're expecting a filibuster. King goes to Washington, appears on national television, does the talk shows, talks about the filibuster, and says very bluntly, look, if there's a filibuster on this, at this point, after everything we've been through, we're going to have to go to the streets. We are going to have to make this an issue. And of course, King preaching nonviolent civil disobedience, but at a time when there were others who were pushing for a more militant politics. And when King said that, the interesting thing is people heard it, right? They heard, wow, if we do a filibuster this time, it isn't just going to be a little club thing, right? One senator getting a little upset with another senator. This is something going out to America. This is where people mobilize and, Jamal, where they can't get the bridges put up in time, right? When the people pour into Washington and pour into those neighborhoods around Senate offices and demand something happen. And I hate to try and speed up history, but my sense is that we're at such a point. And so where will that mobilization come from? Where will that energy come from? It has to come from people who are willing to call out those in power, be they Democrats or Republicans.
That's right.
And to say, no, we are not going to accept the excuse that you can't give us before the People Act. That you can't give us the PRO Act.
The bare minimums.
George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. You can't give us a Green New Deal. You can't give us any of these things because of this filibuster. We're just not going to play that game this time. And if I can say one last thing, you can say you're doing it as a favor to the Democratic Party. You don't have to say, oh, we're,
because they don't know what's best for them right now.
They don't. And the fact is, if you remember 1946, 1978, 1994, and 2010, the 4 cycles I talked about before, where the Democrats lost their real governing power. If you start to think of it in that way, the people that say at this point, no, you can't give us half a loaf. You got to give us something.
No, we're at that stage. We're there now, John. John Nichols,
delivering the message.
John Nichols of The Nation. Thanks so much for joining us. Jamal Green, do you have some more time? What you're looking like, John? James, I want to take us to, if you have some time. If you don't, we didn't clear it, so I know you're a busy man. But David, take us down and play. Give us a little music as we reset, because we still have about an hour and a half to go. More likely than not after this.
something to buy, yeah. Set the potato, boy, sunlight that always stays, dinner by the waterway. It's that sweet life. Raise your cross. Made some dude crack a smile. He asked if I could stay a while. I'm living that high life. Time to catch a flight, but you can make me go. Unlocking all the memories of my new home. Ventilated echoes playing to and fro. Back and forth, yeah. Caught some kids dancing in the Sticks and stones may break my bones, but your words can't hurt me. No, you just can't hurt me. No, I ain't been right more than I've been wrong, and it still can't hurt me. No, it just can't hurt me. No. No, you just can't hurt me. No, you just can't hurt me, no. I know it's hard to be polite, and it's easy being petty. My mama used to tell me, gotta use you when he ready. Man, it's crazy how my brother said it could've been my cell. It's either prison or a grave, that's what everybody tell me. Man, life ain't a beach, it's a female dog. I'm staying 10 toes down, though I still might fall. Oh yeah, now I done came through, knocking pictures off you walls. Cause loving people who persecute you, it's still a tough be a light up on my path and a lamp under my feet. I know my faith's strong, but my flesh still kinda weak. When that victory be looking like the verge of defeat, and I
All right, folks, welcome back. We'll get everybody on the screen. I want to continue the same conversation that we've been having because, Rebecca, you identified these connecting threads last week, like first. And because I didn't, at first I was like, how do you lump in Kirsten Sinema with the filibuster, with all the other stuff and bipartisanship? It's the same exact thing. It is somebody using something that looks good and they're actually using it to hurt you. And we see that so many times happening in this country.
Exactly. I mean, it don't take me but 2 seconds to call a thing. Okay. And I really honestly believe that just as you brought on John, and just as you brought on the professor yesterday, and everybody, when they're talking about this idea of bipartisanship and what it really does and what it's really about, because it's not even about getting together and moving forward towards a greater plan about making America great again. That's exactly what it's really about. Donald Trump's idea of making America great again, that whole idea. But it's this thing has been happening since way back, like honestly, and it doesn't benefit anybody. It will not benefit. This idea of what bipartisanship looks like ain't going to benefit them white folks living in the sticks. It's not going to benefit you. Like you too aren't going to have any benefit from this, as well as those people, the working class. It's not a lot of things. A lot of these ideas, you have Sinema who did not want to give us $15. She said that was too much. She said that was too much as rent is going up. As rent is going up. She said that you don't deserve $15 an hour. It's way too much. Curtsied her little behind, terrible outfit, curtsied off to disrespect people. It was mockery, right? And then we have other people who will sit idly by when they're signing documents that are taking away rights for people of color or taking away rights for women. And there's people in the Democratic Party who say nothing about it, but will show up in the kente cloth, my God, and start. They will show up in the kente cloth. They will start saying things and like just disrespectful, touching little black girls' scalps, so, because that moment for them means, they're looking out for us. That's when they'll show up and go missing again. Kamala, we ain't seen her since they put her in the VP chair. We ain't seen her, but they did tap her. They tapped on her shoulder and said, sis, Joe needs you to tell the world that America isn't racist. And what did she do? She marched on. She came out with them little kitten heels and sat down and told them people that America isn't racist. And no, she had them chuckles. They had them kitten, them work office kitten heels. The ones that she probably used to do to prosecute people. Black men. Here I go again. Here I go again. It's just, it ties in. It all ties in together. But I say all that to say, bipartisanship is diversity and inclusion. It's a joke.
That was the other strand. I forgot you, because you tied it directly to diversity and inclusion. And Jamal, that brings me right back to Chicago, because the appearance is something that's good. Like, okay, let's find the most innocuous way we can. Who's did you say gaslighting, Rebecca? Or who's somebody this morning just said we've been gaslit? Who was that?
It probably was Jamal. Sounds
one
like
of y'all said that we've been, because that's what they doing.
But definitely,
bipartisanship is gaslighting. The filibuster is gaslighting. It's a tool being used to light us, to keep us from getting any actual real progress. Representation on behalf of this police state, elected officials who are there to serve the state and not the people. They are just as much a gaslighter as the filibuster, J-Mo.
100%. When you look at the fact that Lori Lightfoot campaigned on an elected school board, and now she wants to keep all power. Every progressive stance that she had during the campaign, when she got in, just like Rebecca say, she got tapped. Somebody had to have tapped her. She's in a position where there's no results for the people, but she's constantly taking care of their people. All right. The rich, the police get more money than anybody in this state. Period. And even, they got some federal relief, COVID relief dollars. Police got 400 million of it. Most 60% of the federal relief dollars we got from Chicago went to police. She said, well, they had to do odd jobs, like go to the airport and secure people and go make sure events was okay, and some bull crap, right?
Real PPP.
The real PPP. The real PPP. And they got an extra. They already get $2 billion. We already pay $165 million on police misconduct. We already get them hundreds of millions in overtime. We paid $200 million in overtime last year. You're gonna give another $400 million in COVID relief dollars. But when you walk through these neighborhoods, you don't see $1 million coming to these neighborhoods. It brings me back to, and I know we've been talking about immigration, and we've been talking about how symbolism is really destroying us, because Lori Lightfoot was a beloved mayor. In the beginning, no one knew who she was, and as a black woman and a gay woman, the whole city, she got 75% of the vote when she was elected. Somebody who's never held an elected position. Everybody like, oh, she looked like
75%. 75%
of the vote.
That's a mandate.
And now she's hated by 75% of the city. So, but that was 2 years of people seeing who she was. When she got in, it was like she looked like she could be an Auntie Lori. This Auntie Lori, y'all. And once she start putting a whipping on protesters and raising bridges and giving money to protesters, and now we got a new speed camera in our neighborhoods that if you go 6 miles an hour over, you're getting a ticket.
But it's there to protect you, though, J-Mo.
Right. It's there to protect you against accidents, even though the data has shown that it's increasing accidents. But, this is the mayor who came in like I was going to be totally different. And she's honestly Rahm 2.0. But when we talk about symbolism, right, it brings me back to that Obama administration, too. And we saw a lot of that there. And when y'all talk about immigration, this was, this president, Obama was, they don't like to hear it. The Democrats don't like to hear it. But when you talk about immigration, he was nowhere near progressive on immigration
No,
and
that's a fact.
deported more people than any president. And so, you know, I look at that. Then I look at how these banks have been redlining our communities, and they went to Obama and they
don't
said,
start talking about banks because that triggers something on this
It
show.
gets me. It does something
man,
right in
well,
my.
I mean,
It does something
look,
to my shana. Don't have it. Don't
it
do it.
was
Don't do
it was a little activist from Chicago who stepped up and fought Chase Bank last year and had to gangster and shut down 35 branches because they wasn't lending to only black people 1.9% of the time, and just to get them to give $1 billion back to the city of Chicago.
I love the way you phrase that. Just to get $1 billion.
Just to get $1 billion, you know what I'm saying? Like little or nothing. And when you got these leaders of power who's literally everything is sponsored by Chase. Chase Bank has the contract for property taxes here in the city, so you can't even pay your property taxes nowhere but Chase Bank, and they make money off of it. And you know, these folks will not even lend to these neighborhoods, and nobody is holding them accountable. They went to Obama and said, "Obama, fight the banks, help us fight the banks." He just took more money from them, you know. And so I just want to just tie in, you know, we got to stop with the symbolism, black people, and we got to start being honest about an agenda that works for us and holding accountable everyone, no matter what they look like, because look at what just happened with this new anti-Asian hate bill. You know, couple instances, man, they got up on that. Department of Justice prioritizing their cases.
They got a Federal Express.
Federal Express.
Overnighted, baby. Like
overnight.
They cash out
people out in the streets have been fighting.
Our check is still coming by Pony Express, man.
Not
they still riding our stuff since the Civil War. It ain't got here yet.
No protesting, no marching.
Other communities get them checks direct deposited. Bro.
Even the Asians themselves was like, you know, it's kind of funny how I know it's racism is racism. It is, but it's kind of funny how they didn't. The black people are still waiting for what we just asked for. They're still waiting. They were saying that themselves.
They skip. I mean, they like, wait a minute. Like, I do want to get it. I do want to get this rectified, but I don't want to skip the line. It just go ahead, Joe.
You know, it's funny. I put up a meme, and the meme was like, you know, it had Congress all around passing the anti-Asian hate bill. There at the bottom, they had, oh my God, they had a picture of oh my God, was it Whoopi Goldberg from Color Purple saying, "Okay, good job. Right. Now what you got for us?"
Okay.
And while that picture, you can say a bunch of things about the picture, but the fact is, you know, the reality is we are continuing to beg and be placed at the back of the line, and we got to continue begging like these are our slavery days. Yes, and we got to understand, we got to step up, but we got to demand, and we got to fight. It took for us to loot and riot for 50 states in this country to understand our plight. Like, I mean, come on. All these years.
Yeah.
My God. Go ahead.
50 states finally have. Oh, now 50. Everybody in Maine, where don't nobody know, ain't nobody ever been. Everybody's stepping up now for the first time.
Again, no, I ain't never been to no Maine. Go ahead.
No, ain't nobody. But I mean, they protested for the first time for black people.
They was protesting in little corners, like in little street, like they was protesting in the sticks. It was a lot of things happening, and it's funny that you say that. It took all of this time. It took all of that for us to loot in the streets for this to happen. But it was a whole pandemic as well. So folks was home and needed something to do, I feel like. Because at the same time, those same people right now are just like, they felt the same way about how they treated the whole protesting in the movement, because, you know, the streets had BLM on it. They shut down the particular street where George died. Where he died. And then all of a sudden, now they're ready to open it up. Police are making way. Streets is open. Everything is different. They're just like the pandemic.
We ain't got a bill.
We outside. Everything is different. We don't got to do anything. This is how I felt about. This is exactly how they did. That's why I feel some type of way about diversity and inclusion. It took Starbucks. This is the Starbucks situation that got viral. They shut down Starbucks for a day. Everybody, and like I said yesterday, everybody was like,
"Don't train people."
It's so right. We're gonna train you how not to be racist in public. We're gonna train you how not to be racist when you're working here in our store. You know, we're gonna train you for that. And then they started. I told you they started hiring the one black person to cover that group. Now we got to teach you how not to be racist. But I'm only one black person talking to all y'all racist folks, and I'm holding it down for the company. And then boom, what diversity and inclusion has become is not exactly what we thought it would be.
Tokenism.
And this is exactly what happens with our movements. And then we have people in place that are they say that they're for us, they respect us, and all those kind of things. But the same thing, we're still waiting for our reparations. Like we're still waiting for all these things. But these Asians, though, quick to assimilate, is quick to.
Oh, they got the same similar. They have the phenomenon on their side of the aisle of the model minority, where it's like you have those who see the things we see. They see the oppression they see, but then you have the other ones who they play the model minority role. If they could get along with the system enough, then everything will be just fine. But I think what I'm hearing both of y'all say is that unless you are ready to change the system, you're not really ready to fix any of the problems we brought to you. Until diversity and inclusion is going to actually address the racism in the system, not just how do you make it look good, how do you avoid it. Don't tell me how to avoid a trap. How about you take the trap apart? And that's what diversity and inclusion is doing, or not doing rather.
And we gotta, black people, we gotta stop being fooled by symbolism. Rebecca said one of my favorite clips that I love to use when they came on down in Congress and they kneeled on and they kente cloth. And Nancy Pelosi.
Do we have that picture?
Back up. They had to pull Nancy Pelosi up because her knees went out. It's honestly
we're struggling.
Ooh, the Lord was not pleased.
It's like I got arthritis. You think you gonna mock? You're not gonna mock. You gonna get down on your knees in the church, knowing
you gonna stay right there,
knowing you ain't changed.
The devil is a lie.
It's okay if your system is messed up, but you getting on your knees acting like you're gonna change something, Nancy Pelosi, and then y'all just walk away with the all we got was kente cloth.
Oh, that's all we got, and still to this day, at George Floyd. What we got? We don't have no real systemic change. We don't have a bill in Congress. They're sitting here yanking out stuff in the George Floyd Act. No, go ahead and abolish qualified immunity. You're not gonna do that, are you? No, because we always get the short end of the stick, and we don't never get what we want. They only give us enough that folks who aren't educated enough will be like, oh, we got something.
That's exactly how they sound too.
Wow. You know what? The people who get on my nerves the most, the black people who make excuses for Kamala Harris.
Oh my God.
I'm just like, we keep
she a black woman.
Look, you making excuses for Kamala. Like, listen, don't you know it would help you out better? It would help Kamala out better if she just went out there and would just kept it real. If she has to whatever extent she has the capacity to keep it real. But going out there and talking about this, don't come back. That ain't gonna get you no points in any community except the racists who don't like you anyway.
She looked them in the eye. She said to the Guatemalan president in the conference, "Hey, if y'all trying to jump, we sending y'all behinds back, and we will do it gladly." And she does that little face, a little smirk, whatever. Yeah. She looked them in their eyes and told them, "We don't F with y'all."
Yeah,
like literally in
Obama
Big Sean's
2.0.
voice. It was I felt that. I did.
He did the same thing.
And y'all know I love me so. Back then it was Obama for me. I always say that.
Obama. And remember that remix?
Yeah, I do. And then but then getting older and understanding literally that a lot of the policies that were put in place and that he stuck right beside it. And when he stuck beside those, they were hurting people like me because I come from a family of immigrants. And I had people who couldn't come here, had people who was left behind. I couldn't be with certain parts of or people in my family because they didn't benefit from the policies and stuff. However, Right, ER, right, heart ER. Here is what happens with that. The U.S. can go, and I said this before. The U.S. can take money, resources, go and kill folks off, and come in proud to be an American. They can do all of that in other people's country, all of it, and then say, y'all can't come to this country though. That to me is very telling. That to me is very telling.
We can come to your house, mess up your house, but you can't come to our house.
You can't come over here. We gonna send some troops down there to stay with y'all. You know, y'all can always go say hello to them. You know,
true occupation.
They gonna be right there in your country. They ain't going nowhere. And you know, Obama, I need them to get the clip. Ain't nobody grabbed this yet, and I'm gonna have to go grab it. But Obama did the same thing that Kamala did. And they got a clip of Obama.
Somebody in the audience,
stuff like that.
Hang on one second, Jamal. Somebody in the audience can get us that link and get it to our producer so we can get it on air. We need a link of Obama saying, describe it a little more.
He did an interview. He did a national interview. I believe it was a certain year, his presidency. You know how they do every once a year, you know, as president. And he was talking about immigration and talking about how those people don't need to come here. And how he was gonna, you know, continue to enforce the laws of this country. He did the same thing. Now he ain't say, "Do not come, do not come, do not come." But
stay your ass over there.
Basically said that. And like I said, this is Obama has major influence in this administration. Obviously, we all know. Right. Okay, right. Joe Biden is
well, hell, he still got influence in the black community. So
right, yeah.
He was the first
Joe
black
Biden is
president,
96.
guys. Okay, he was the first black president. Okay,
yeah, that's the best thing about him. The best thing about Obama was he was the first black president. But you know, Joe Biden 96. Kamala don't have experience, so he of course is picking up the phone and giving advice. Okay, so when we look at what they're doing and how they're moving, this is just an Obama presidency over again. But we gotta step up and we gotta start demanding more. Right. And as Congresswoman Nina Turner said, y'all know I'm claiming it.
Hello, somebody.
Hello, somebody.
y'all know I'm claiming it. My political mentor, and I love her so much. And we got to demand more. We can't keep on being comfortable with crumbs. And we got to have the wishbone, the jawbone, and the backbone. All right. Now to have that backbone that's gonna keep us fighting.
Yes.
All right. And that's what it's about.
No, I love that.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I love that because it ties into, and I know the talking point right now, the big story is bipartisanship, right? And it breaks down a lot because yesterday we were discussing who our leaders are. It would be great if we had leaders. And when she wins, come on, somebody. Hello, somebody. When she wins, Congresswoman Nina Turner is a great example of how not, to step to the opposite, step to the ops, and which is the Republican Party, and tell them, I'm not moving, shaking, or changing. You will have to adjust. For what we're about to do, because what I am offering helps everyone, and what you guys don't want is what you guys want to do is keep everything to yourself and to everybody who looks like you, and that's she doesn't stand for that, which I absolutely love. And then we have I said this before as well, Cori Bush. Like I absolutely think that she is a leader and a mover and a shaker. And I'm talking about when we say mover and shakers, that's who I'm talking about. I ain't talking about the others. Like I feel like you can't ride the fence. You really have to be about all that stuff that you were fighting about before, what you were campaigning on. It's another thing when you get into that seat. And even though you have a lot of things against you, like sometimes you may have to walk away, talk away, whatever, but you are still being you in every aspect, and you haven't changed what you stand for. That's what I can say that I respect 100%.
Wow.
We as people on the left, the Democrats, the socialists, whatever you want to call it, the progressives, whatever, child. Listen, Okay, it cannot be that we're speaking about bipartisanship and only going off of the right's talking points, only off of Republican talking points. That's white supremacy at its best, and that's not bipartisanship. But the fact that, if we can just go and bring our stuff and tell them that we're not changing this, you're going to have to come and adjust this time around, because this is going to benefit everybody. That's the only way we can move forward. And you can't be afraid to do that. Like calling people out. We had Cliff on here and he was saying straight up, we were out there fighting and protesting. And we said, we have to end the filibuster. We were discussing that. We was in the group chat. People that was in the group chat went missing on the day we hit the streets.
You talking about
missing on the day we hit the streets.
Cliff Albright from Black Voters Matters talking about those Texas Democrats who said that they were going to walk out, but didn't.
Never did. And they got scared, but he is a mover and a shaker. And he still went out there and did what had to be done. What he said was, you got to call them out. So he called them out. They tried to act like, oh, I didn't see the text. He was like, oh, you didn't see this group text message because you sure was online and you sure was, you was one of the viewers of the stories in my Instagrams. You saw my posts. You know what I mean? And so it's like, you got to call them out. We aren't afraid to use this platform to call out Kamala Harris. Love her, mean it. You're Black. Great. It's nice. You can't just use your Blackness when it applies. Like when you were campaigning and you started discussing that you went to an HBCU and you started discussing that you know how to wear chucks and you started discussing that you represent AKA. It's all cute. It's all great.
Be quiet.
But now
Rebecca's about to get us in trouble.
I'm trying to be quiet.
But now who does that work for? No one, because now the same person that was doing all of that and we thought was a part of the Black agenda is not. And she's telling immigrants, because immigrants, her family, she got immigrants, they immigrants too. So she's telling immigrants or possible immigrants not to pull up to the land of the free, home of the brave. My God, make it make sense.
Rebecca, I don't know if I want to belabor here too long, because if we dig deep on Kamala specifics, then we're gonna get in trouble. But I tell you what, they do let her do a lot of. She sure be posting a lot of Instagram posts showing her walking through the Capitol. And,
we did it, Joe.
It's like that paint in the street. Black Lives Matter. We'll put some paint down on the road, but we ain't gonna actually change the system.
Hey, you know what? Let me come back real quick to what Rebecca said about
Did I lose audio?
You lost audio for a second.
Okay. Because we don't, Jamal.
Jamal sounds like he's saying something good.
It's so important.
Jamal, you're preaching right now, but we can't hear you.
We can't hear you.
We can't hear you. Look, we can't hear you. Jamal,
does he not see us?
Jamal is still speaking.
He thinks we're saying amen. He think we saying amen.
He thought it was the amen corner. He just kept going. It was so funny too. It was like, I'm telling you, the feds is watching. He was like that point that Rebecca made when she said,
I thought maybe I had lost my internet connection. The best
me and
part.
You was looking like, is it you? Is it me? Is it you?
Hey, and David's like, he's still going. I wish. See, this is why we got to have server side recording to make sure, because that's gonna be lost forever.
Damn, that was a good moment. He's still going. Look, David, he's still going.
Shout out to Jamal Green, Black Lives Matter activist, rabble rouser, and if we can get him back in, we'll bring him back in the conversation. If not, we want to appreciate him for coming on. Rebecca, we got a couple other clips, but y'all have. I mean, I'm still laughing at Jamal
going. Look,
Jamal back in the office preaching still.
Jamal,
can you hear us now? Say something, Jamal.
All right. He's still adjusting. It's all right.
All right, we'll get it.
It got a little intense. But Ben, you said stay off of Kamala, but this is the most that we got an opportunity to talk about her. I mean, let's be honest, she doesn't show up anywhere. And I'm not saying that because of her efforts. We don't see the lady. We don't see her at all. So
until it's time to tell the immigrants to
but when she did come in, this is exactly what we got. So that's the only reason why I say, I would, and I've said this before on the show. I said I would have loved to see Kamala really come in and not only just be the, a Black woman or a woman of color, however y'all want to call it, because I know that she's on both sides. She's both brown and Black, but I really, really, really would have loved to see her actually do some work, especially as a VP. It still is very important, and she still broke ground, just like we had President Obama, or former President Barack Obama, who was the first Black president. And I know that it was a lot on his shoulders and things like that, but there were a lot of things that I wish that he would have done too in that time. Not everything he did that I agreed with, but he did show up and do some things. But Kamala, in this moment, we're in 2021, no longer in 2008. A lot of restrictions aren't the same, and you are a woman in the VP position.
Yeah,
I really would have wished that she did something different. And so, Jamal, you were making a point, and
she cut my mic.
Yeah, I believe
that was Lori Lightfoot. Lori Lightfoot reached into this computer and said, "Not today, say."
It was Lori Lightfoot. it was both of them.
No, but I was going off about folks who are not just feeding into the symbolism, right? Just like Congresswoman Nina Turner, who's going to be Congresswoman soon, right? These are people with morals and principles, and we need more people like Cliff, like those folks who are willing to beat down the system in Congress. Nina Turner came years. She's been saying a lot of the same things that she's been that she says today. And when Joe Biden won, she ain't go beg for no job, even though they ain't want her, and she ain't want to be next to him. She ain't say, Bernie, you got enough power to put me in there. She said, I'm cool, because she's just gonna wait on her time so she can have her own voice. Somebody with morals and principles, not the shuck and jivers who gonna say, go Joe Biden, I need a job, so I'll be quiet. Like, no.
That he gives.
I'm
I
saying?
feel like that's what they sound like for real.
No. Somebody who will speak truth to power and say, I don't care about the president not liking me, and I'm gonna go to Congress and fight for the people. We need more people like that. And I'm just, when you said Cori Bush and Jamal, I mean, there's some great folks who are really rising up in Congress, and I can't wait to see what they do. And we got to keep supporting them and pushing this. That's the only way we're gonna get Medicare for all. It's the only way we're gonna get a Green New Deal. Only way we're gonna abolish qualified immunity. Only way we're gonna be able to get some of the real change that we deserve, like getting rid of student loan debt. I forgot that wasn't in this bill, this new budget. I think somebody forgot. I know he kind of older. Maybe he forgot to put it in.
Wait, Jamal. I thought you were talking in tongues. I thought you were speaking in tongues, Jamal. I know he had kind of.
Maybe he forgot to put it in the bill, man. Maybe.
You talking about Joe Biden, JB?
Joe Biden, yeah, the budget. Maybe JB forgot about this.
He said he too has student loans, and he said he too has student loans that he can't pay. The president of the United States.
From 100 years ago.
He said from 105 years ago. He said he has student loans.
Back in his day, it was probably $5,000 for 4 years to go to college.
Come on, somebody.
Look, let's be serious, man. We really have to fight, but the fight, I'm gonna tell y'all what a fight really is. Fight ain't the Republicans or the right wingers. The fight is half of the party who believes in symbolism and aren't educated enough to understand that they're not seeing any type of results right there in their neighborhoods, in their cities. They're still going to be their kids are going to go through the same thing that they went through growing up. And they're not understanding that. They're not understanding that if today my kids was my age, they'll be fighting for the same things that I'm fighting for. The same fights. And so until we get those people on that side to stop, Kamala wearing Chuck, she looking good, black woman, give Kamala a chance. 4 years later, give her another chance. 4 years later, give her another chance. And we keep doing this over and over again.
She black.
And never getting any change. I mean, those are people that we got. That's the problem right here,
man. Y'all spitting the unadulterated truth, and y'all cut to the core of the issue. Let's expand it a little bit more. David, I want you to play the clip of the white folks losing their minds over critical race theory.
But before we do that, J-Mal,
yeah.
are you staying?
Oh, because you said you had a bounce.
You had to go.
I do got to go and get these kids to school, but thanks so much for having me. Y'all spent this right here is what we got to talk about, and everybody watching got to start talking, because everybody knows some folks on their Facebook page and their families and friends who are the ones who comfortable with crumbs.
They're gonna be the first one protecting Kamala. They're gonna come after
crumbs.
J-Mal.
It's giving poetry.
J-Mal, they're gonna come after you while defending Lori Lightfoot.
100%. And look, I beat up on Obama many years ago, and they came after me for that, but they're gonna understand in 20 years, but they don't see no real effects from that administration. And I just hope that we can get it together at some point, so that we can get an administration that really will work for us, and we can get some real results. But we got to talk to our family, talk to our friends, put it up on Facebook, challenge. It's okay with challenge. That's the problem with those people, is you challenge anybody that is a symbol to them, whether they black or whatever. Like, once you challenge them, it's just like, oh my God, I can't believe they're already coming after them.
You said something bad about Barack Obama. How dare you?
They already hate him on the other side. They don't need
they hate him for that tan suit, which I argue down too. We're
gonna handle the tan suit part of the equation. We're gonna come back. J-Ball, you better listen. If you're in a situation like me, you better get those kids where they gotta go. You gotta get out of here. You have to come back anytime you're available, man.
I will always be back. But like I said, we got to work on those people. We got to do better.
Go get them kids to school.
I'm gonna be here every week soon.
Yeah. Anytime you want to come through, man, let's do it.
Yes, love it.
Oh man, Rebecca, y'all just spitting too many. Y'all, it's amazing. And we could take a break if you want to. If not, we can just keep. I got some clips, but it supports everything that you've been saying. It's y'all keep playing. It's what my dad used to say, and I never could get this saying right. He said you could feed an alligator as much as you want. At the end, it's still going to eat you. Y'all could keep playing around. These Democrats can keep playing around with Republicans, keep playing around with these fascists, keep playing around with these conservatives, all for the sake of trying to avoid to do actual tangible things for black people. They'll give us a symbolism. They'll give us a street called Black Lives Matter Avenue. They'll give us a George Floyd Parkway. They'll do all that. They'll give us a black person in power in Chicago. They'll give us a black vice president. Hell, they'll give us a black president. But if that person actually do something for black people, then we got a real problem.
It's shaking the table now. I think that and I know that John, who we had on earlier, was saying that he didn't want to get on the filibuster because we were talking about bipartisanship. But the filibuster, bipartisanship, diversity and inclusion, all of it. It's the same thing, because the filibuster is very racist. And as we said yesterday, the point that we made is, if it is removed, it's going to reveal the bigger story, the bigger thing. And that is that you have to now do the work for people of color. And you aren't going to want to do that. So keep the filibuster up. Both parties utilize the filibuster to their advantage, and they do not want it removed. It doesn't benefit any of them who are okay with what the system, how the system is. And we know that it was created to work just as it's working, and that's against us. So yeah, it's a lot of unpacking that we've done with simple things like bipartisanship and things like that. But all of these things have been what they were. We just now can talk about it freely, unafraid, unapologetically,
whether they like it or not.
Whether you like it or not. And with that, I think definitely we should take a break here. And
and when we come back, we have some more clips, and we're gonna flesh this thing out all the way to the bottom line, and then the Democrats are gonna have to decide, are they gonna put up or are they gonna shut up? Because black folks is feeling like walking away if y'all won't even protect our right to vote, then what the hell are we even doing this for? David, give us a little bit of music as we rest our voices and come right back with more Like It or Not after this.
really use a change of scenery. Yeah. Everybody smoking all the greenery. Yeah. Close the match cause they were handed down to me. But I'm still fly, I know. I'm still fly, let's go. It could all be worse, I could be a hater like you. It could all be worse. Pills to make the man, but that poison's gonna chew you from the inside out. So right now, say it with your chest now, say it with your chest now. I'm young, I'm free, can't nobody take me here and now. It's my time to run it out. It's my time to ride it. I'm young, I'm free, can't nobody take me here and now. It's my time to run it out. It's my time to ride it out. It's your time. Oh, cheers to all the haters, cause you proved to me that rising to the top was my destiny. And you can see whatever from behind me, but I'm still fly, I know. I'm still fly, let's go. It could all be worse, I could be a hater like you. It could all be worse. Clothes to make the man, but that poison's gonna kill you from the inside out. It's time to say it with your chest now, say it with your chest now. I'm young, I'm free, can't nobody take me here and now. It's my time to run it out. It's my time to ride it. I'm young, I'm free, can't nobody take me here and now. It's my time to run it out. It's my time to ride it out. It's your time. Oh, if you're on the bus, say yeah. Yeah. If you're on the train, say yeah. Yeah. If you gotta walk, say yeah. Yeah. Everybody's going somewhere. Yeah. Young or old, I really don't care. Yeah. Life has never really been fair. Yeah. So put your fist up in the air. Yeah. Say yeah. I'm young, I'm free, can't nobody take me here and now. It's my time to run it out. It's my time to ride it. I'm young, I'm free, can't nobody take me here and now. It's my time to run it out. It's my time to ride it out. It's your time. Oh.
We gonna make Revel Day a star.
Why would you just like cough right when the song ended? So,
I'm sorry.
No, it went with it.
Oh yeah, I was over here dying, man. I'm struggling. We're gonna make Revel Day a star. Like we insist, you are going to like that song, and you're gonna end up you're gonna go viral.
It might as well be our
theme
intro.
song.
Yeah, no, seriously.
Hey,
what's up with Revel Day?
Hey, what up, dog? Hey,
doing?
what up, man? Where you at?
What's
Supposed
up?
to come on by now. What's up with that? Any
I honestly I know that Bubba, who's not on the show today, we miss you, Bubba. He definitely said that he was in works of getting that done. So I really think it would be great to have those music segments back and have him on the show and do a little bit of talk with Revel Day, because he don't even know he's a star. He is a star. He is like literally a star. So
yeah. Our producer David is going to drop a couple of links in the chat room. We want to encourage everyone to go over to the Like It or Not YouTube channel to subscribe over there. We got to get the numbers up over there, and this is a positive sum game.
What are you doing right now? Are you watching this show right now?
Oh,
stop what you're doing right now and make sure that you head over. If you're watching it on, I think it's the Benjamin Dixon channel, right? On your page. If you're watching it here on the Benjamin Dixon channel, make sure that you head over to the Like It or Not page and watch it over there. We got to get those numbers up. Why? Because we want to monetize. We want to monetize for the work that we're doing for you guys to make sure that we can continue to do this. So head over to the Like It or Not page, like, share, subscribe, get the numbers up, and start watching this content over there.
We'll say click on them videos.
Click on them videos, like them, make sure you share them. You know, this is what we need. I love y'all, mean it.
I thought you were about to say bye. That's what you normally say when you get ready to say bye. Love you, mean it, bye. Let's take. I want to expand it a little bit more because there's one layer left. It's the layer left in this conversation, Rebecca, is what you hinted at. It's and actually John Nichols from The Nation, he hinted at it. He was like, it's almost like we got to do what's in the best. We have a duty of care. We have to take care of the Democrats because they don't know no better. Now that time has kind of run up because everybody with 2020 and we're like, if y'all don't do something at this point, you don't deserve our vote. Matter of fact, we ain't gonna lift our finger. If you won't even protect democracy, if you won't even pass HR1, if you're gonna let the filibuster and Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema stop us from protecting the vote, because how many times do you hear all day long, every day, every show, every politician, hell, every preacher, vote. If you want to sound like you really doing something in the Black community, tell people to vote. And everybody getting the amen, everybody getting applause, but Democrats like, yeah, we don't know if we could actually even help you keep voting.
That's really it. Like, vote, but will your vote matter? Vote. And like, it's like, I can't, it's just been an emotional roller. It's been an emotional roller coaster. Okay. Loving you ain't nothing healthy. Okay. Loving you ain't never been good for me. That's what it feels like. Honestly, it feels like being blue, making the states blue, representing Democrat. It's been an emotional roller coaster. And I say this because they'll go from telling you your vote matters, which is, this is, I believe. And every time I think about even murmuring, does my vote matter? Right.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I think about Fannie Lou Hamer and I've been having to shake it off and be like, if she ain't doing what she did for me,